Hey everyone, Deron here, and I am here with Aaron. Aaron is a client of mine who did a hypnosis session with me, and I just wanted to uh, allow you all to understand how his experience went with me. That way, it can give you more clarity about what hypnosis is, what it isn't, and most likely probably debunk any myths that you have in regards to hypnosis. So, Aaron, the first question I have for you is, what was the problem or struggle that you were facing prior to working with me and doing the session?
I was definitely a fear of failure. I was definitely very afraid to fail. I was definitely very afraid to try new things because I was afraid of messing up or failing or looking bad or looking dumb. Some far to the point that I was afraid of new foods. I tried new foods. Like I had Indian food for the first time. It was almost by force because I felt like, what if I try it? I don't like it. Then my whole day is ruined because of that one thing. So I had an intense fear of failure. So I would never try new things. I would start one new thing and stick to it, even if I didn't like it anymore. I didn't enjoy it anymore. I would just continue to do it because why try something new if there's a chance of me failing or being bad at it again? I don't want to be bad at something again. I don't want to start
Yeah,
all over. So that's why I reached out.
yeah. And how did that affect you in your life?
Stagnant. I feel like I was the same person my whole life. I really disliked people that tried new things or like to try new things. So I'm like, and I literally had this phrase I would repeat like, why try new things? Does that mean that the things you've always been doing are bad? Like, does
Mm,
that mean that like what's wrong with the current things if you have to keep trying new things?
yeah,
I became very boring. I became very boring. I related a lot myself to shows where one of the characters was like really stubborn and stuck in his ways. Like the whole old dog can't teach an old dog new tricks. Um, and that definitely was affecting my relationship with my wife because
yeah.
I
I
feel
mean, sure. And how did that make you feel, knowing that you had this fear of failure and you're stagnant in your life? How did that make you feel?
I felt like my destiny was to be that the crabby old man, the get off my lawn old man, um, full of anger and pain. Um,
Anger and pain.
yeah, like just be stuck there my whole life. Just be that man sitting on his front porch, angry at the world because the world continued to grow and have fun, and he just stayed the same.
Yeah.
And
And oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Uh,
that's what
yeah, I'm curious. What did you prior to your session with me? Is it that you did try to help you with this fear of failure?
um, I joined a barber mentorship program. It was in 2021, midway 2021. I started this mentorship program because I knew that where I was in my career, actually in my interview process with that program, he's like, "Do you have any last questions?" And I'm like, "Yes, I know that I have an issue with my mindset. My mindset is poor, and I need to change it." Like that was the first question I really asked this mentor. So I've always known that my mindset was not good. I needed to fix it. So I joined that mentorship program to fix my mindset. Um, and it helped. But I knew that there was something deeper than just doing better or doing
Mhm.
more. There was something beneath that was causing me to not do better and not do what was best for me. There was something underneath it.
Yeah, yeah, and I work with a lot of clients, as you know, where they've tried a lot of things in the past, not to get really the results that they want or the success that they want. And then there's some clients that they've tried certain things in the past where they've gotten some success and results, but it didn't get like that, the thing, as I would say it, metaphorically speaking, like the thing that is like holding everything in place. And um, how, what's different after the session? What's been different for you now?
Hmm. I a lot of things for sure, but I think the one that I'm experiencing the most now is I finally feel like I'm living in my body. If that makes sense, like I finally feel like I'm living in as me. Like before, I felt like I was living kind of like in like a third person kind of setting. And that third person was very stressed out and very anxious and was just like hoping that things get good or hoping that things get better. But now I've kind of realized like the power of my decision, of my choice. And I have a moment every morning where I don't feel very good waking up in the morning. I don't think anybody does. And then, I'm getting ready for the day and I'm like, wait a second, but I have a choice whether I'm not going to have a good day or not. But before it wasn't like that. It was just like, okay, today we woke up in a bad mood. Guess what? We're having a bad day. And now I feel like I'm finally living in my body, in my mind, making my decisions, and I'm enjoying my life. But before it felt like a third person. You know what I mean? Like looming over me.
Yeah,
Uh
and it's and I think from a therapeutic setting, that'd be seen as like a disassociation, where it's like an individual is trying to detach from their body because it's not a comfortable place to be in. And once they make that connection where it's a safe space to be in, which is their body, they can start to live in it, so to speak. So it's really great that you're mentioning that.
I think the biggest like awe shock factor that I had was I've been trying the whole affirmations thing and meditation since last September. And I got some good results. Like I'm more relaxed, more at peace. But for the first time in my life, I'm using affirmations and I believe them. For the
Mhm.
first time since I started, I'm actually like, I'll say these things and I'm just like, wow, these affirmations are already who I know I am, but I finally believe it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it
All
does,
these aff-
because the affirmations that are using are just reminders.
exactly. They're coming from the person that I knew I've always been since childhood. Like I told you, I had that image of who I was as a kid,
Mhm.
and I believe it now. That's me. I'm not living it from a third person perspective anymore of the little child who I was as a kid because I love who I was as a kid. Now I'm like, I haven't changed. I'm just longer, a little bit
Nice,
wider,
awesome.
taller.
Yeah, yeah. Any other results that you've experienced thus far?
Other results, yeah, like I my relationship with my wife is so different now. Like there was a point where I never wanted to admit it, but we were kind of getting into this like roommate routine where we were living with each other. We definitely like loved each other, but
Mhm.
it just didn't feel like connection.
Yeah,
Um, that's different now. It's way different now.
awesome.
For the first time in months, I'm able to sit down and watch TV with my wife, which it sounds super simple. And I was envious of other friends that could do that because I'm like, how can you sit down and enjoy a movie with your wife and not feel like you have to get up and do a bunch of work because you're not doing enough? But now I can
Mhm.
do that and sit there and enjoy a whole movie with my wife and just be like, this is what I'm supposed to do, because I want
Yep.
to do it.
I think that's what it's called, a miracle.
Yeah,
Miracle is just a change in perception. It's not the big. It's just like, wow, I can actually sit down and watch a movie with my wife and just be present.
yeah,
I think Wayne Dyer was mentioned, it's the little things that count, and it's true, because think about it, that one small thing compounding over time, and like you mentioned before, how much different your relationship with your wife is, and I'm pretty confident that just you doing that makes the biggest difference in her. So that's incredible. That's incredible, Aaron. Now, what prior to doing the hypnosis session with me, and just be honest, what was your thoughts on hypnosis?
I studied it I grew up very conservative Christian. I carried those characteristics with me until last year. Last year, I got fed up. And something my mentor has told us is like, whatever you've been doing has gotten you to where you're at now. At a
Mhm.
certain point, you got to do the opposite. So, conservative me would have never read any of the books that I read or done any of the things that I have decided to invest in the last maybe 6 months, including hypnosis. So, I'm saying, opposite of me, what would he do? Well, I started looking at channels that talk about the power of the mind. and talk about. I started off with the book Psycho-Cybernetics, which takes a scientific look at the power of the mind, and
Mhm.
that kind of got me down the rabbit hole. And I read books by Mind Valley, and that led me down another rabbit hole. Jose Silva, probably one of my favorites. And then they're all saying the exact same thing. You have the power in your mind, and you have the ability to harness it, and it's
Mhm.
really strong. But I feel like nobody ever tells you how to do it. Like none of these books really gave me an insight on how to do it. It's more so they're telling me this is the power. So my view of hypnosis was just kind of like at a zoo. Like you see the lion and you wish really, really badly you could cross over the gate and experience the power of the lion and hear him roar right in your face. But I'm over here studying him like a scientist, like
Mhm.
charts and books and graphs. I'm like, okay, he eats around this time and he does this time from a distance. But when we spoke, was the beginning of this year. I was like, maybe this is God saying, "Hey, it's time to go out there and be like the actual guys that are in the Sahara with the lions. Like it's
Mhm.
time to actually just go do it. Like you're studying it
Yeah.
like a science. It's something that needs to be experienced." And I'm so glad I did.
Good, man.
I feel like you did in that session the amount of work it would have taken 2 or 3 years um, going to like a counselor or somebody. I think in
Mhm.
one session we did the amount of work it would have taken 2 or 3 years. I honestly believe that with all my heart.
Yeah, yeah, and it's powerful. And what's really incredible is all the magic and all the work happened within you, and that's one of the biggest things I like to mention to people is when it comes to hypnosis, no one can fix you, no one can solve you. So it's imperative to realize when someone's trying to give you advice, they're only giving you advice based off of their way of seeing things. And every single person has experienced life a different way, different circumstances, different events, different traumas. So it's only that person that can resolve and heal those things. And as you mentioned with all those authors, the power of your mind. The power of mind create it, so the power of the mind can uncreate it or recreate it or transform it or transmute it.
Yeah.
So what's your thoughts of hypnosis now?
There's definitely a stigma around it, and I think it's because of the guys with the pocket watches
Mm-hmm.
on stage. I think that's what made it look like it's a joke,
Mm-hmm.
and that was the stigma was for me. And then I heard about Mike Tyson and some stuff happened with him through hypnosis, and that's what started my curiosity. Is I'm like, what do you mean? I started looking into it, and yeah, I think that's like stage magic, right? Like it's like for fun.
Yeah. So what I mentioned to people is that's stage hypnosis. If you go on stage, what do people on stage do? They perform. They're to entertain. So when someone goes on stage, they're not going to go on stage and not perform and entertain. They're going to do it. And what's really critical for people to realize is when people do that, they're in control. They're choosing to do that. Just like if a singer goes on stage, a singer is going to sing. If a comedian goes on stage, a comedian is going to tell jokes. So when someone goes on stage to be hypnotized, so to speak, they're going to follow what the hypnotist is telling them to do because it's an act. And that is all for entertainment purposes, for the laughs. This is hypnosis in a form of hypnotherapy. Therapy just meaning to cure or to release or relieve someone of a particular issue, whether it be mental or physical. So it's just using the idea of the mind can make lots of changes in a therapeutic setting. That's the big difference. And that commonly, because I know there's going to be lots of people that watch this who have that disposition of hypnosis, that is a common thing where people like to downplay it or have a fear connected to it without actually even knowing what it is because they think it's the dangling pocket watch where you're getting sleepy, you're getting sleepy.
Yeah.
It's all just a theme behind it, but that's a form of hypnosis in the form of entertainment. Just like one thing I've mentioned to a client of mine, if you were to want to watch basketball, you could watch NBA basketball, you can watch WNBA, you can watch international play, or you can watch Globetrotters. The Globetrotters is the entertainment, which is very synonymous to like the stage hypnosis.
Yeah.
It's just really seeing which one is actually going to benefit you.
Yeah. I told a friend, because a friend of mine asked me, um, I feel like the stage stuff is kind of like, when you go on vacation, there's a guy who paints or draws you and your partner or whoever's with you
Yeah,
in a funny way. Like, I feel like that's what like stage hypnosis is. It's for entertainment. It's supposed to be a memory that you laugh at, It's just hilarious how
exactly.
versus like Michelangelo, like
Mhm.
his work. I'm like, it's still in the same arena of like, I guess, art, but one of them is taken seriously and it makes you feel something. It draws out certain things that you feel versus the other
There
one
you
is
go.
just for. And
Yeah.
so, because it's just like that's all that people know is the stage stuff. I'm like,
Mhm.
there's an entire world that I've immersed myself in for 6 months before I experienced it. And because I've done hypno before, it was a different form of it, and it was
Mhm.
great. Um, but I feel like the progress I got in 3 sessions with them, I got maybe 10 times more of that with one session through
Mhm.
conversation.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it, but I feel like I made more progress through conversational hypnotherapy than the one that I did with these people in Alaska. This
Yeah.
was much. This one just felt so. mm, I wouldn't. I don't want to say normal, but I just felt so like no fluff. I guess.
Yeah. It was natural because the mind is more receptive in a natural state. But just imagine if I told you, okay, close your eyes, relax. You're gonna get sleepy in just a moment. Your mind's all gonna ready to be like, okay, we're gonna go into hypnosis now. However, in a natural state, and one thing that's really helpful to mention to anyone that watches this, that hypnosis is a natural state. We go into hypnosis once we wake up in the morning, we go into hypnosis. Once we go to sleep at night, we go into hypnosis. Anytime we're doing something that creates a very heightened state of concentration. When we watch movies, when we watch a movie, someone could get sad, and next thing you know, we're like, I'm sad too. It's like, but the movie's not real because your mind is taking in all that information. That's hypnosis.
Yeah.
So when people say, oh, I want to get hypnotized, I like to say, well, that sucks because you get hypnotized daily without even knowing it.
Yeah, because I heard about that from a friend of mine to do the affirmations within the 30 minutes when you wake up, 30 minutes before you go to bed. And once I read the Jose Silva book, well, that's what it talks about. Your brainwaves, where it's going to. And so it makes a lot of sense when you're watching a movie, you're getting hypnotized.
Yeah,
Music, music, and it does
yeah,
make you feel
yeah.
hypnotized, like you're
So then it goes to show to be very mindful of what you listen to and what you watch.
big.
What advice do you have anyone who's considering to work with me or just do hypnosis in general?
Book a consultation because there's going to be a lot of questions. And in the consultation, you get a glimpse of what it's going to be like. So when my wife did the consultation, when she walked into the room, there was like a visible physical difference. And the rest of that day, up until her session with you, the house, the environment of the house, the energy in the house changed. Like, not that we would fight a lot, but whenever we did fight, it was rough. And it was just different. Even when we'd argue, it wasn't like we were arguing because we were mad. We were arguing because there was a disagreement. You know what I mean? Like it
Mhm.
wasn't angry or painful. It's just like, hey, this is a disagreement. I,
Yeah,
I feel like our relationship matured 10 years after the
awesome.
consultation, both of our sessions. I don't know. I feel like now I can see us growing old together because before it was just kind of like, this is hard. This is really
Yeah,
hard. It's past still like we're like holding on to it. Yeah.
awesome. Thank you so much, Aaron. Is there anything else you'd like to mention before we wrap up this interview?
Um, book a consultation, ask as many questions as you can. If you need to, if you're like me, before you purchase something, you want to do like research. I did a lot of YouTube research. I read a lot of books. I'm like on my fifth or sixth book surrounding hypnotherapy, and it's
Oh,
not
wow, you read
weird.
more books than me on hypnosis.
It's science based, and I think that's what brought me so much comfort was because like it's science based. Like
Mhm.
every book I read has like science because like I came into it from a conservative background, looking at it like, oh, this is some kind of like spiritual, like potentially demonic stuff. Like I'm gonna stay away from it until I read into it. I'm just like, no, this isn't. This is science. This is natural. This is the mind. This is why having a conversation with a friend can be so relieving, is
Mhm.
because it's hypnotherapy. I have a
Yeah,
friend that every time we see each other, we just word vomit because there's like this sense of like, I understand where you're coming from. I know where you're coming from. I believe you. I understand. And I feel like it's like maybe like the cusp of hypnotherapy.
yeah. And
And
the great thing is, like you mentioned before, it was natural. The only
actually, I
difference
didn't
of this process, go ahead.
recognize when the session began. I just remember that I got on the Zoom call and we just started talking. And then I just started getting really mad and then really sad. And then I started feeling really relieved as I started crying over certain things. I don't remember when the session started because we just started talking from the beginning. And you
Mhm.
started asking questions and he was like, oh, why are you doing this? Hey,
Hey,
like that's
me, hey, me neither.
yeah. And then like I look at the
Oh,
clock, wow, like, oh man. And then the relief I felt, I've been looking for that my whole life. And okay,
there you
even
go.
like a couple days afterwards, I laid my head down on the mattress in my room and I cried for 30
Mhm.
seconds. And the relief I felt, and I was like, I've been waiting almost 30 years to feel this kind of relief. And it just came from hypno. And
Yep.
then me learning from there what to continue doing in my life. I cried for 30 seconds. And the
One
amount of
second per
relief,
year.
yes. And the amount of relief I felt, I was like, are you kidding me? Like 30 years waiting to feel this at peace.
Yeah.
That's what I was
Incredible,
upset about.
Aaron.
That's what I was upset about was how long it took me to do this.
Yeah. And what's really great is you did it. And now here you are saying how much better you feel.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, Aaron, I appreciate everything that you shared with me and anyone that watched this video. Uh, for those of you who are definitely interested in working with me, you can always reach out to me on my website, deronsing.com, to book a consultation with me. Other options are you can follow me on social media, Deron_Sing. That could be via Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram. Aaron, like I said before, thank you once again for sharing everything that you shared today. And I look forward to following up with you in the following months and even years to see how much more of an impact that session made on you.
Yeah, for sure. I look forward to it as well.
Awesome. All right.